Okay, guys, I'm trying something a little different here today. I was going to say new, but this whole thing's kind of new to me. So, do a little book review of the Alex Van Halen book, Brothers. Obviously about him and Eddie growing up. They're pretty much their life story. That's what it turns out to be. Up to a point, as we'll get into. So, I read the book actually a couple weeks ago. I finished it a couple weeks ago, and for whatever reason, I had the urge to put my thoughts out there. Some specific motivation I'll also get into in a minute. But wanted to do the review, kind of mulled it over, rolled it around in my head, figured what I wanted to say, then got a little busy. But today I'm actually waiting. My car is getting serviced, new tires, spark plugs, brakes. I'm taking my car across country. Coming up real soon, so I'll have some content coming from that. I plan on it anyways. Maybe some sightseeing stuff, some guitar shops, and some live music. I'm gonna stop in Austin and Nashville, maybe Memphis. Anyways, so today was the day. I woke up, I had my Van Halen shirt on, and so today is the day I'm gonna do it. So I'd say not necessarily a review. No spoiler alerts necessary. I'm not gonna go into too many details. Basically my my thoughts maybe, and also a good story later on that if you guys want to stick around to the end. So my thoughts, basically, my original first major impressions from the book are that their home life growing up was tumultuous, more so than I think had been previously publicized or known. I mean, I grew up as Van Halen was my religion, and ran as much info as I could, and that was, obviously you don't know as much back in the day as you do nowadays about anybody, but they were, I said their home life was pretty tumultuous. They were working class, if that. I mean, I think his dad did music while he could, but he had a string of menial labor throughout the years to make ends meet. His mom, I think, did some cleaning, some domestic services. But, I'm here in Redondo Beach, and soon after Ed's passing, it's funny, I used to always call him Eddie, but since reading the book, I refer to him now as Ed because that's how Alex always refers to him. So, but after Ed's passing, I did the pilgrimage up to Pasadena to see the house where they grew up, I think on Las Lunas Street. And man, that's a small place. It's, I think, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I would say bungalow, but bungalow kind of implies that there's some type of charm or style to it. This was a very, very basic and very small place. I mean, for four people, tiny. For one person, it's pretty small, I gotta say, in today's standards. For 4 people, I can't imagine. And Alex goes into pretty good detail about the cramped quarters in their house growing up. But besides that, the family dynamic was very interesting, I'd say, and there's a lot of stories. Like I said, no spoilers, but there's a lot of stories from that are pretty remarkable, pretty extraordinary. So the other big impression is that I think Alex wrote the whole book by himself. In the time before the book was published I think it was released in early November. I didn't read it until maybe a few weeks after. I didn't buy it immediately. But Alex had done several interviews or a few interviews, and there was a lot out there, his interviews and some excerpts from the book. So I was avoiding all that stuff. Since I've read the book, I've been able to go into that. Point being is, I've seen Alex talking, pretty candidly in some of the interviews. They just let him talk in that type of format. And the book sounds like he talks. I don't see him acknowledge any co-authors, so I'm pretty sure he wrote the whole thing by himself. I think he mentions in the book that it took him about a year to write the whole thing, and that's pretty impressive. So that was the second big impression, and the third impression I got is that he reads some social media posts and he references them towards the end of the book, and I was kind of surprised by that. He said he actually seems like he got some solace or some, he felt the outpouring of love for his brother and for the band in general. And he got some joy and it solace and it helped him through it, which kind of surprising to me. I would think he might have been too wrapped up in his own grief to bother with that, But anyways, along those lines, in the infinitesimal chance that he ever sees this, I'm going to tell a story that I always want to tell those guys if I ever got a chance to see them, talk to them in person. But this may be the best I get. So anyway, that's the third impression. But the book, it's pretty chronological. It talks about the younger years, the trip over, and then basically goes into the forming of the band, the party, the backyard party years, and then pretty much album by album, tour by tour, he goes into not super nuts and bolts of details, but pretty good detail up to the first 6 albums. The book ends, it's heavy because it ends with Ed's death, which is, obviously a tragedy for everybody, who's watching this. More so, obviously, for Alex. It was his brother and his bandmate and his best friend, and, I guess probably an everyday part of his life. So, and then before that, the book ends with David Lee Roth leaving the band, because the heart of the book is the relationship with Ed, Alex, and David Lee Roth. He talks about Mikey. He doesn't leave him out, but it's mostly about Ed, Dave, and Alex, and ends with Roth leaving the band. So the end of the book is heavy, and it's also heavy because it feels like the end of the story. Like now Alex has put his thoughts into it, and it feels, maybe that's why I want to put my 2 cents into it, because it felt like so final after reading the book. I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to get it to my brother, but it seems like it's so final now, because he's put a bookend on it, I guess, no pun intended. But anyway, so the last thing I'll say is he didn't take any shots. He took the high road. I said the number one, he didn't, he talked about Mikey, he talked about Sammy. I'd say as little as possible. He didn't omit any of them out of spite. He talked about Mikey in the early years. And I said the biggest shot he took was he didn't really mention them that much. So, or even the Sammy Hagar years at all. So, for a number of reasons. Obviously he left that out because there's a lot of stuff he probably didn't want to get into, but also it enabled him to, like I said, he took the high road, I guess you'd say, and didn't take shots at any of the guys that, that some of these books are famous for, all the trash talking and mudslinging, which I was happy for. Okay, guys, so actually I got a little tongue-tied trying to tell my story yesterday, and couldn't edit it all out, so I decided to reshoot it. Missed maybe a point or two also. So anyway, I was saving this for in case I ever get to meet Ed or Alex in person, but the time is dwindling for both of us to get that done. I'm still hopeful. One point from the book I forgot to mention is that that made me kind of happy, is that they mentioned Redondo. They used to, I don't know if they launched their boat or if they had a slip down here, but they used to come to Redondo with their boat. And I'm in Redondo. So anyways, Alex, if you come back down here, if you're watching this by any chance, hopefully we can run into each other. So anyway, when I was in probably my mid-teens, I'd say 14 or 15, my brother Aaron would have been 11 or 12. Our summer vacation was to go and visit our Aunt Ann in upstate, not quite upstate New York, but in New York, a place called Croton Falls. She was actually a Catholic nun. She passed recently, but she was a Catholic nun and she was a principal of a Catholic school. So in the summertime, my mom would take us up there and we would stay in the convent, which was, I think, designed for multiple nuns. I don't know how many, a dozen or so. And it was only my Aunt Ann and another nun living there. So we had free run of that place. And it was summertime, so the school was empty. So we had free run of the playgrounds and the ball fields and the gymnasium, the indoor gymnasium where we would shoot hoops. And so I think, we may have been setting up or breaking down from bingo, because they would put us to work a little bit there too. And I put in a Van Halen tape into the auditorium PA system. They had a cassette and a very basic PA system for, I guess they had mass there sometimes, and basketball games and bingo. So they had a very basic PA system. So anyways, we were listening, rocking out to some Women and Children First while I remember breaking down chairs and stuff. So anyway, apparently we left the tape in there, and they had mass there the next Sunday. So I think it's probably the altar boy, whoever's job it was to turn on the music for whatever part of the mass it was, hit play, and sure enough, Van Halen came blaring out of the PA. Loud, apparently. And whoever it was fumbled for a minute. They couldn't turn it off for a while, so it played long enough for Father Brady, who's the guy who was a priest who ran the whole place, to say, all I remember hearing was them talking about taking their whiskey somewhere. So it was either Romeo Delight or Women and Children First. And so it definitely happened, and like I said, long enough for them to understand some of the lyrics. And luckily we had skipped town, I believe, probably just before that happened. So we took some heat, but not a whole bunch. And now we're going to take the credit, my brother Aaron and I, for probably, I'm going to guess, the only time that Van Halen was played at church on Sunday. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. See ya.